So, in our manifesto, when we went to the 2020 elections, we promised to modernize the legal architecture of our country, to modernize the legal statutory landscape of our country. That involves not only the promulgation of new laws, but also the examination of existing laws and modifying or repealing them if it is so necessary, so as to bring them in conformity with modern international standards. That is what we are doing in almost every area of national life. Now, Guyana is now an oil producing country, and obviously we have to create the requisite legal and infrastructural framework and regulatory framework that would conduce to such an industry. Oil and gas industry has certain peculiar facets that are going to be developed. One of them being maritime activities, because as you know, the operations are offshore and there's a lot of activity offshore and onshore relative to that industry. So you have shore-based facilities being established throughout Guyana, and you also will have additional port facilities, not only because of the oil and gas industry, but because our economy is reaching new heights, and there are a large increase in the type of economic activities taking place in the country, as well as the size of those activities. Necessarily, that will cause and result in increased commercial activity in our river and in territorial Guyana in terms of our territorial waters. We obviously can't continue with the same legal framework which existed when these activities were not present. An important part of lawmaking is that the law must change, or new laws must be implemented to meet the dynamism, to meet the exigencies of an evolving and developing society. Or else the society will advance and there will be no regulatory legal framework to govern the advancement. So naturally, we have to look into this area of maritime activity and the regulatory framework which exists in relation to our ports, in relation to the use of our rivers, the use of our ocean, etc., to ensure that we have what obtains internationally. We are not going to do anything exceptional, because we also don't want to over-regulate. Neither do we want our regulatory framework to be considered oppressive or onerous. But it must be in keeping with international standards so that users of the waterways are protected, public property is protected, and the state's interest is preserved and protected. That's the intent behind the law, and to ensure that we police activities taking place in these areas of our country. Remember, there's a crime and security perspective too. When you have new influx into the country from, these vessels, etc., it increases likelihood of criminal cargo and proceeds of crime coming into the country. So you have to also have the type of monitoring mechanism that will allow you to protect yourself and the country from illicit trade, illicit products coming into the country, and proceeds of crime being part of the economy.
So when we're speaking on us trying to secure our maritime vessels and stuff like that, are you saying that there has any? Are you saying that our current situation is not as up to standard, and that what exactly is the next move?
First of all, our Shipping Act, for example, is 25 years old. By sheer passage of time, that requires review, without more. Then you have an economy that is radically different from the economy which existed 25 years ago when that act was passed. You may have international conventions and treaties regulating port authorities across the world that are not reflective in our current legal infrastructure. Then you have to cater for the increase in activities in this arena. We didn't have a shore-based facility in 25 years ago. We didn't have so much traffic in our waterways 25 years ago. We didn't have so many collisions with the Demerara Harbour Bridge 25 years ago. Is the protective safeguards in place, which were put in place 25 years ago, is as robust as they should be in the year 2022? Law reform is a constant thing. Nothing remains static in the world. And laws must always evolve with society. We are the fastest growing economy in the world. That was not the position 25 years ago. So, as a matter of course, we have to relook at the situation. So, it's not whether we are adequate now or not. Where we are now is different from our statutory framework, which is 25 years ago. And that's the cold hard reality.
So are you saying that fines and such will be in place soon?
No, I don't want to go into the measures. I want to review the sector and the regulatory and statutory framework first. Then look at what obtains in the Caribbean currently and what obtains in other oil-producing countries. And then when that analysis is done, I'll be in a better position to offer more informed comments.
Okay, but so this is something that we're looking at and that...
For the next year, yes. Within the next year, that's one of the areas that we will have to look at.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.